but evil lurks in the hearts of men. The shadow knows.
There we go. I forgot to unmute the mute button. All right, so let's go back up here and welcome everybody in again. All right, so first was Cecilia Jansen, then the Evil Twin, then Butch at Sand Hollow Homestead, Howie at Food Forest Permaculture, Keith Kronk, Michael 58, Freaky Geek, Mama Z's Texas Kitchen, J&C's Oregon Homestead, Jehoiadak Maccabeus Off Grid and Everyday Survival, The Lear's Farmish, Okay. Southern Blessed Homestead, Stringfield Ridge Farm, Dave's Mule Train Homestead, or David's Mule Train Homestead. All right, catch it up here. Lisa Becknell, Mary Beth Smith, Getting Started on Homestead, Rustic Traditions Homestead. Getting caught up here. Lori Jean, Queen of the North. Sorry about that, Lori. And all right, so we're caught up. So I alluded to a little bit about tonight's back on Tuesday. That we're going to be talking about emergency communications. So there are several things that I want to go over on this, and I got to remember to keep an eye down here in case any of those I invited in will pop up here to help me out here. So I don't know where Dave is. Dave, I don't know, he's been working hard on getting the his son's channel up and going. Charles 64th Scale Fun or something like that. So let's take a look-see here at what's going on here. And so basically I'm going to use a presentation I use at preparedness fairs and at symposiums. I get invited to talk about emergency communications. So let's start this off a little bit here. And since it won't play the music, got nice music going on, real sweet violins and stuff, nice, beautiful day. Everything's all serene and idyllic, and everything's really nice. And then the music starts to change, and it gets real dramatic. And we get all sorts of terrible things popping up here. All sorts of disasters and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so for emergency communications, I got a question for everybody out there. What are the ways that you communicate with your loved ones? So get typing, people. Give me some examples of the ways you communicate with your loved ones. So this is important to get you guys thinking about emergency communications here. All right, Dave Mule Train fires right off with the big boy, ham radio. And Rich Refuge, hey, how you doing? So, cell phone, all right. Ham radio, cell phone, ham. Very slow snail mail. Sending out postcards, in person, phone, cell phone, texting, Facebook. Well, actually, everybody here has another little thing which they do. They do Facebook. I mean, they do YouTube. When they do lives and stuff. So now, so you got the different ways you can talk about it. So, what types of emergencies can you think of that would impact your being able to communicate the ways that you are listing here with your loved ones? So what sort of emergencies can you come up with that would impact it? Carrier pigeon backup. I love it. Instagram. Oh, Michael 58 hit a good one. Gotenna. Michael, you actually have Gotenna? That's cool. Marco Polo. Solar flares. Hurricanes. Power outages. All right. Very good getting started at Homestead. Yeah, so there are several ones, and the hurricanes is an important one. Tornado, flash floods, hurricanes, earthquakes. Yeah, so there are a bunch of different things that can impact it. Where are we at here? Let's go over here. So I want to point out something here that was that the government found out. Actually, not just the government, federal and state governments and county governments and city governments found out during Hurricane Katrina. When in 2005, the impact on communications was very dramatic. It was so dramatic that a special report on what happened was commissioned. And they determined that many agencies had jumped on the cell phone bandwagon and then plan on the number of civilians using cell phones. It was so bad that very few people were able. Oh, I've got someone else to bring in here. Here, Scott. It was very, very bad that most of the way people were able to communicate during Hurricane Katrina and then read it afterwards was texting was the only way they were able to get through. Well, and then they concluded that the three most significant disasters for communications would be hurricanes, winter storms, and earthquakes. Now the problem is the first two are really big back east. Hey, what's back east? Washington, D.C. Well, right after they had some earthquakes there with in one just outside of in Virginia, there outside of Arlington, and the New York one. And so that's why they added earthquakes in there, because they had everybody was got on their cell phones immediately and jammed up the circuits. Well,
New York one.
We added one more to it here because of what's happened in California the last several years, wildfires. That really had an impact when cell towers were being burnt down and phone transmission lines were going toast. So now I'm not going to try to pick on everybody here. I just want to get a point across. Do you guys really know how your cell phones work? Scott, no cheating and giving them the answer. Because I know we've talked about this before.
Howdy, everybody.
So, all right. Mary Beth's on us right now. No, she doesn't know. Well, I'm going to show you basically how cell phones work. You have a caller using a cell phone. The signal goes to a tower. Then it goes from the tower to landlines. Yes, landlines. Goes to a switching center like regular phone calls, gets routed out through landlines to another cell tower to the other person on a cell phone. It doesn't go cell tower to cell tower. It goes to a switching center. That's one of the reasons why doing that, they can find people that are traveling, tack on roaming charges if you still have that. And, that's the way it works. So, and then now we have VoIP. Even they use landline cables to get, across the United States because it's the internet. And then the landline cables go to the towers. Well, if something happens to those landline cables, such as what happened down in San Jose about 8 years ago, where some copper thieves climbed down inside of a manhole and a couple manholes, and they cut the cables, and they started to pull them. And they realized they were fiber optic. So, yeah, so that affected a lot of communication down there. Now, for national disasters, DHS and FEMA can shut down non-first responder cell phones with a flip of a switch. States can do it as well. So if you don't have a GETS, which is Government Emergency Telecommunication Systems, or a wireless priority service cell phone, you're going to be out of luck in some of these situations where the cell's there. Hey, Will, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to get some information going here. Now, so what else could keep you from using your cell phones, guys? I kind of alluded to it.
Cell towers going down.
What was that, Scott?
You already talked about the cell towers going down and everything.
Yeah, cell towers could go down, but there are several things that can cause problems with using your phones, because if it's going through the landlines, and the landlines happen to be in the air in rural areas, and somebody crashes into a telephone pole and takes it down, or if there is a brain fart here. Oh, area floods and the switching station gets, flooded. All the calls going through that switching station will be shut down. Or if there's a power outage. That's how it happened up in Santa Rosa there. I'm not sure how bad if it happened down in LA, but up around Santa Rosa and the northern fires up there, when the power lines were burnt down, a lot of the cell towers had no backup generators. And they had some backup batteries that lasted for 15 minutes or so, and then they went dead. So there's a lot of things that can cause you from using your phones. And that is the important thing that brings us to the important part of tonight. Communications plan. You gotta have a communications plan. All right, and you need to get it ahead of time. It doesn't do too good to close the barn door after the horse is already out. You need to have a plan before the disaster happens. You don't want to be doing this when it happens. All right, so in your communications plan, you need to write it out and make sure it contains the following items. And Scott's going to provide some information here in a little bit. Okay, who do you need to communicate with? That needs to be in part of your plan. You need to do a phone tree, recall tree order and use. You also have to have outside area contacts and their order of contact. So let's take a look at a phone tree. Basically, the person in the middle, like it was Scott. Scott would call two people, probably his son and his daughter, because he's probably at home with his wife. And they would call two other people that they needed to be in contact with. And then those two people would call two other people. And that's the way that works. For a simple one here, you got a phone tree for the Jones family. You got Grandpa Mac as the point. He has two out-of-area contacts to let them know there's a problem in the area. He then also calls two of his sons, and they call two family members, and so forth and so forth. And that's the way a simple family tree call list. Now, once you get to the end of the call list, the last person reaches those two people, got hold of them. He then reports back upstream that all his people were contacted. Now he said, well, wait a minute, the phone's not working. Well, not all things are going to impact the phones immediately. You may be able to contact them via texting, Facebook. There's other ways you can contact people during on an emergency. And we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a minute. So your plan also needs to have in it what triggers the communication plan going into effect. And you got a list. Okay, this is what's going to cause us to use the communications plan. What types of alternate communications your family is going to use. It also is going to include, if you're going to be using FRS/GMRS, what channels you're going to be using. If you're using ham radio, what frequencies are you going to be using? And code words. You got to have, in your plan, you got to have the written code words for different events, like regrouping locations. And you keep this secret. It's called operational security. You don't want to be, I know I've heard some people on public communication, public transit, they answer phone and they answer it on speakerphone. So everybody's hearing what the conversation is. And if they're on the speakerphone and someone says, hey, there's an emergency going on, we need to regroup at Grandpa's house. Now everybody knows that person's going to Grandpa's house. That's why I use code words. You can if it's a bad situation, civil unrest, you may use message drop locations, prearranged to get messages out. If you're especially evacuating the area, signal flags, warning signals. Say you have to evacuate the house and you're going to Uncle Max, but the area you don't feel that your neighborhood's safe anymore. You'll put up some sort of signal out there. Like some people have those koi fish and other flags in the area. Well, if you put one out upside down, or you put a certain color one out, anyone coming by knows, any family member coming by knows, we're going over to Uncle Mac's house, and they don't even stop. Backup plans. Always got to have a plan B, plan C, plan D. You need to have a practice schedule to practice it. Have long-term communication outage plans and options we haven't listed here. Now, some other items: access to an alert warning system, Facebook messaging, ham radio packet email, ham radio message boards, and any other things you can think of. Now, a long time ago when I first started this is some of the things we first had, and this thing has mutated over the years. It originally didn't say cell phone, it said mother and father's work number, and it had pagers on here. Who still has a pager? Nobody. So it's all changed. I mean, I know several people have several cell phones. And then originally for the kids, when we had kids didn't have cell phones, they had all the numbers on there, and they had so they could go to a payphone. If anybody remembers what a payphone is, Scott, you remember what a payphone is?
I mean, I don't mind.
Payphones, they can call, and they have this little card with information on it. This was all part of the plans, because if you don't have a plan, your poor planning predicates poor performance. And with that, get back over here, bring us up here. So Scott,
I didn't know they were coming, okay?
what ways do you have to communicate with your family other than cell phone?
I'm a ham radio operator, but I haven't gotten my rest of my family set up with the ham radios yet. I'm still kind of working on that system.
Mm-hmm.
At our home setup in Idaho, I had erected a 70-foot tower with a ham radio antenna on top of that. And I plan on hooking up a ham radio to that so that my wife can contact me outside of our little hidden valley. But down here, I had planned on doing 2 mobile radios so we could go vehicle to vehicle. But that's it, because I've experienced that. I've experienced the cell phones system being overloaded in an earthquake down here. And it goes quick.
Yeah. Well, it was really bad about earthquakes, back when we had, like, say, the 1971 earthquake in Sylmar. Everyone still had landlines. There were no cell phones. But when everyone's phones shook and bounced, they all bounced off the receivers. So that engaged the phone like you're going to make a phone call. So it sent a signal to the switching station. All of a sudden, the switching station got 1 million signals coming into it, and it went to protection mode and just shut down like a breaker switch. And that's what happens a lot is, everyone gets on their cell phone, and all of a sudden now with all the computerized system, it goes up, all circuits are busy because it's protecting itself. Okay, now the Lears,
they're set up right on.
Yeah. They have high frequency for long and 2 meter 440 for local. Now, let me get over here. I need to get the advanced just so I can see this.
What the heck happened?
And you get past that one.
What bands are you talking high frequency, Lears?
Okay. Now I have a feeling they're talking like
Morse code.
6.
Yeah. Can I address a couple of comments in here? Real
Sure,
quick?
go ahead.
So I've noticed a few of you guys have made some comments. Freaky Geek, you were talking about how expensive it is up in Canada to get your ham radio license, and somebody else had made the comment about how hard it was to get a ham radio license. And not so anymore. Now you can get your ham radio license without knowing Morse code. It's your amateur license, and you don't need to know Morse code, which is, to me, the most difficult thing. Once you learn it, it's like learning the alphabet. But the Morse code takes a little bit of time to get used to because it's so foreign to everybody. But now you can go and get it down here in the United States. You can get it cheap. It only costs $20 to $30 to take the test. And in a lot of places, I got mine for free. There was a local ham radio club that was putting on a weekend class. And at the end of the class, they did the test for everybody, and we paid. I think we paid $20 for the actual test, and then after that it was. But otherwise, it was just free. So it's very, very cost effective, very, very cheap. I always recommend that people look into their local ham radio clubs first of all, and almost all those guys are super knowledgeable, and they can direct you in the right place. And a lot of them are what they call moderators. They are qualified to be test. Not
examiners,
proctors, whatever, and so they can actually administer the test for you, and it's awesome. I know in Idaho, when we had gone up there we had gone to the local fairgrounds for like a local like a disaster preparedness like a little mini convention at the Bonner County Fairgrounds, and there was an emergency preparedness communications group that involved the local law enforcement as well as the ham radio clubs, and everybody was all together, and they must have had a couple $100,000 worth of equipment sitting there, and I about fell over my tongue looking at all of it. It was nice stuff, but that's another easy way, and those groups are all over the United States. So I can tell you story after story of incidences where ham radio operators came in and saved the day.
Yeah.
So,
the Lears there, he's or she is a VEC examiner, and that's what it's called.
Oh, perfect. Yes, an examiner. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi wire group. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Now there's some. They also put up there that
perfect.
W5YI has study guides. That's a channeler. Well, I pulled something up here for everybody. Let me throw this up here again. All right, if you go to the Asset Center, one long word, theassetcenter.com, go to free documents. Free documents here. It'll go to this page, and you scroll down to, where is it? Oh, there it's ham radio right there. Click on ham radio, and it talks about it. And this here is the 2018 to 2022 tech, which is the lower level. There's tech, general, and extra are the three license classifications. This is the tech one. This is the pool of questions for it. So you can study through the pool of questions. And now I only have the correct answers. It's multiple choice, so I eliminated all the wrong choices. So you can just go through and you read through about 5 or 6, 7 times, and when you go to take the test, your mind, you read the question and goes, oh, wait a minute, that one sounds right, and it'll help you take get the answers. We use this in what we called ham crams in California, where we would have a weekend crunch training, and then you would take the test afterwards. But those who were signing up the week before, we'd give them the pool of questions to study on.
I'm the kind that I need to have study materials in front of me, but the classroom setting is where I learn and listen and absorb. And when that club, it was a Friday evening and all day Saturday, and then a couple hours on Sunday for a review, and then at noon we took the test, and I aced the test. But I bought the book, and they had all 300 questions in the book. It wouldn't take me more than 10 minutes to read those questions, and I was out.
Yeah, that's Yeah, that's why we on this what we do is we have people print it off, and you just have to get like a ruler there, and you read the question, you read the correct, and it has the correct answer. You just go down
Right.
through it, and then they choose 30 for the technician. I believe they choose 35 questions from that 300 pool for what's
Right.
on the test. It's like a driver's test. They have a big pool of questions, but each test is different. So each hand when they hand out is a little bit differently, but it's all based on the same pool of questions, and it's really easy to get. I was running what's called the SHARE program, the Scout Ham Amateur Radio Experience in California. We set that up, and we ran 3 Saturdays for the scouts, and we had scouts as young as 11 at the end of it pass and get their ham radio test, ham radio license. So it works. Yes, WD, there are online tests you can take as well, practice tests, and that helps as well.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the ladies in the ham radio club that I when I took my test, her first job was before I was gonna say World War. She was actually pretty old. She was probably 90, and she was still doing ham radio stuff. One of her first job as a 17-year-old was to run a ham radio for the FBI. It was pretty neat listening to her stories and stuff. But yeah, some people learn better in just reading it and going through it and doing it online, and then that's easy too. But the classroom setting, I absorb it so much better that way. But it's so easy. And once you have people explain it and explain some of the details, it's really not difficult.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me, Layers, that field day is the weekend. It's Saturday through Sunday. That Sunday, I believe, is Father's Day, or it's the weekend after.
Oh, really? All
sure.
over the place for the whole country or for the whole world or what?
World.
Really?
Field day. Yeah, people contacting all over the place. And there is a lot of stuff going on. It's all the scouts also do the jamboree on the air that day as well.
Interesting. That is really cool. Thanks for that, Lears Farmish.
Yeah. Now I'm going to throw something else up here. We're going to talk about dealing with ham radio. Okay, ham radio and D-Star. D-Star is also ham radio, but there's a little bit of difference between them. Ham radio is analog. Yeah. D-Star is digital. Now, for D-Star, there's an app so you can turn your Android or iPhone into a ham radio for the D-Star system.
You know what? It's funny that you brought that up. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, ham radio uses repeaters to go long distances. Simplex is from line of sight, person to person direct. A repeater gets it to go over the mountain to the people on the other side or farther across the country. A gateway acts a little bit the same, but it's hooked up to the internet. So you can use a gateway on your D-Star radio to go to hit the gateway, go into the internet, come out a gateway in Japan, and you're broadcasting in Japan or in England or in Germany or any state in the United States.
Okay, that's interesting. I had never heard of that. Yeah. I know that in the ham radio frequencies, you can hook into the wind system, which I use a lot with my buddy. He goes to Hawaii and does work in Hawaii, and I'm sitting there in my driveway talking to him while he's in Hawaii. And the wind system, of course, is through the internet. So, but they hook up the ham radio systems to the internet.
Yeah, the thing is, on the D-Star radios, like if you're on 440 and you're in California and you're broadcasting at high power, you're not interfering with I just lost the name of it. It's the Air Force tracking system. It tracks all the space junk up there. And a lot of the 440 repeaters in Northern California will interfere, and they got to turn their power way down. But if you're on D-Star, because it's the digital system signal, it doesn't interfere as much with it. But I
guess my question for D-Star then is if the grid goes down and we lose a lot of power, I wonder how much of the D-Star is going to go away.
Well, it depends on how they have the gateway set up. I know the gateway is up on Mount Diablo, which has the biggest footprint in the world for broadcasting to populace. most of the repeaters and gateways up there have solar panels and battery backup.
Okay.
So I'm just going to go other stuff here. Yeah. Oh, your ham radio license is good for 10 years. You go online to renew it. No charge to renew your license.
Are you sure? I thought it was like $10.
No, $10 for your original test, free to renew it. All you got to do is go on and do it.
And you can't do it more than a year before it expires or something, right?
I think
not
it's
much
like
of a grace period. I don't think.
Yeah, you have to do it before it expires. After it expires, there's no grace period, and you got to jump through some loops to get it back.
I thought you had to kind of just go take the test again.
I think after a certain point you have to take a test. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me show you what's the next thing here. Okay. Oh, equipment costs have come way down for your ham radios, and even D-Star now starting to come down because D-Star is an open system, and so no one company owns the patent to it. In fact, the main company that's doing it, Icon, has opened it up to get everybody into it. So, but so some
to sell more stuff.
Yeah. Now, ham radio is the original social network. How many remember the TV show MASH?
Yeah.
And when they were using the radio to contact the United States, bouncing across the United States to get to some deli in Chicago to get them to package up some ribs and send them over to Korea, they were using the ham radio network.
Huh.
And there are clubs just about every major city has a club, and even most towns, have clubs.
Right.
And there's all sorts of help available online on YouTube. And even the government uses it as a backup plan. There's the MARS, the military affiliated radio system, which not only the military uses, but Homeland Security uses, FEMA uses, Customs and Border Patrol uses it.
Yeah.
A lot of them use the MARS system as which is ham radio, as their backup. And here's an example on Amazon, the Bofang. You can get a 10-pack on the 440 band for under $100. It bounces up and down, but you watch it, sometimes it drops way down.
Yeah.
And
I have 3 of those.
Yeah. Here's the dual band one. You can do in the 2 meter or the 440. And it's $47 for a handheld. When I first got into it, the cheapest handheld was $129, and it was not as good as the Bofang is now.
Right.
And then you have like your the ones mounting your car. They have quad band ones, 2 meter, 6 meter, 10 meter, 70 centimeter, and the 70 centimeters of 440. And these are quad band, and that's $370. But it also has, whereas the handheld has the 5. Yeah, this is a Yaesu scooter, so this is the Cadillac.
Yeah.
The handhelds are up to 5 watts, whereas this one here is 50 watts, 10 times as powerful.
So I have a Yaesu. It's strictly 2 meter, but it's the off-road version. It has great big cooling fins on it.
Yeah.
It's a 75 watt, and I am. Oh gosh, how far away am I from? Let's see, 80 plus 30. So I'm 110 miles from a mountain, a nearby mountain called Big Bear. You guys probably have all heard of Big Bear.
Mm-hmm.
110 miles from that repeater, and I'm hitting that repeater from my truck with 75 watts, and then talking to my buddy who is 30 miles away from me, and he has a big one like that. So you can hit far away repeaters when you're putting out the power.
Oh yeah.
I started off with a little handheld, and I used an amplifier in my Jeep when I had it, and it worked great, just the same.
Yeah. The 6 meter on 6 meter on Earth Day, which is celebrated, on uh, John Muir's birthday at the John Muir House in Martinez, California. A friend of mine, Dave Purcell, will sit down there in the little valley that the house is in, set up his antenna at the celebration there, and on 6 meter he's hitting Philadelphia off of the off the ionosphere, doing the bounce. And he's hit Philadelphia, he's hit Boston, Chicago, and so he's not even using a repeater on the 6 meter to get across the country.
Hey, quick question: are you guys getting any background noise through my microphone, or are we good?
We can hear them in the background, but it's not bad.
I can put my headphones on. That'd make it better.
No, it's the mic picking her up talking in the background.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I put my headphones on, and then I can cut that out.
Yeah.
Because this microphone is super sensitive.
Yeah. So, there's if you check Amazon, there's a whole bunch of prices. Now you can get this radio cheaper at Ham Radio Outlet. So, all right, Jehodak, take care. We'll catch you later.
So,
now,
got a question. Oh, it's funny that you brought that up. I had a question about that. I wanted to ask you, could you give a little more background on the different meters? I know that 2 meters is the most popular band,
Right.
And that's probably what the most people are talking on. So I'm going to say probably most of your local disaster preparedness groups and clubs and whatnot are going to be in the 2 meter 440. Those other bands, I know some of them you go all the way around the world. I remember my dad stringing up a big old long wire through the yard, and we were listening to New Zealand and China and all on the other side of the world, and depending on what the weather was like. So I'm kind of curious though, what would you consider the top bands for disaster preparedness? That's kind of where we're focused on tonight, right? And what's the easiest for people to pick up? Probably 2 meter, yeah. Like who's on 6 meter and 10 meter, and more enthusiasts than anybody?
All right, here's the thing. 2 meter and 440 are your most popular frequencies. 2 meter is the most popular, has the most repeaters, and therefore will be the most crowded and busy and hard to talk on during a major emergency. 70 centimeter, which is 440, is right on its heels. There is another frequency called 220, which my father-in-law's radio club in Fremont used to have a bunch of repeaters for, and that was their club frequencies, because it wasn't quite as popular, and they always had free frequencies on there to use. 6 meter is becoming a little bit more popular as far as equipment being available to it, and I know the in Contra Costa County, the C8, which is the Contra Costa County CERT, Contra Costa County Community CERT. It's got, anyway, it's C8. It's got 8 C's in it in the name of it. It's been a while since I've been involved with them, but they've set up 6 meter as the inner city communications frequency. So the CERT program in Martinez would talk to Pleasant Hill, which is a neighboring city, on 6 meter, or Concord, which touches both of them, and they would communicate on 6 meter to get inner city communications going between the CERT programs, and they could also then contact over the Mount Diablo and hit on the other side there out to Brentwood, Antioch, Pittsburgh, and other cities out there on 6 meter as well.
I see. Yeah.
So it depends what you want to do. If for a personal system for families, a quad band is probably your best bet, because they also have the quad band in handhelds, and you can get on the 6 or 10 meter. You're gonna have a lot less people on those frequencies. So you'll be able to, and there are popular frequencies in the 6-meter band and in the 10-meter band. If you go to the unpopular frequencies and set that up as as the frequency your family's going to use, you can have a lot better chance of communicating.
Right. So let's talk pricing for a lot of these homesteaders and whatnot. Not made of a lot of money. I know I didn't have a lot of money when I found my stuff. I found all my stuff on Craig. Well, my first radio was a handheld Yaesu. It was an old one my buddy gave me. It was a dual band 440, and it probably went for. It still goes for like $700 for this handheld. It's a nice one, but I went to go get my mobile stuff. $350, and then you want one in 2 different vehicles. It's like you're talking $700-800. So I went on Craigslist and found my stuff used for probably 50% of what it would cost new in the store. It might have been older models, but they work just fine. So if people want to get into it and they want to find something, I would highly recommend diving onto the used boards. They're not, most ham radio operators I found are not going to want to sell you a radio if you don't have your license, though. At least,
right.
My opinion is you shouldn't be selling somebody a ham radio that doesn't have a license. Now I'm down here by the border. I hate to say it, but a lot of the 2-meter, especially, you turn on a couple of frequencies and you just hear these guys just blabbing in Spanish, and it's supposed to be in English.
Yes.
And they are clogging up the airwaves, and it's really annoying, and it's just wrong. But there's nothing you can do about it. So there's a good reason why you don't want to give people radios that don't have their license, because people that don't have licenses aren't going to respect it.
Right. Exactly. I'm looking up something here right now. When before I got my first radios was Radio Shack, Radio Shack 2-meter and a Radio Shack 440.
Yeah, they sell good stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, Radio Shack's not around anymore. But what I got for it, I'm trying to see if I can find it here. That cell phone boosters. Amazon's not having it on there, or I'm not having a hard time finding it. There, you can get it. I know you can get it at Ham Radio Outlet, and if I find it on Amazon, I can show it to you. You get something that basically it has all it is an in and an out for the antenna feeds, and it takes your input of 2 to 5 watts from your handheld. So you can get us a little adapter cable that goes down to it and plugs into this unit, which is about this big.
I have one. You want me to go grab it and show it to everybody?
Sure. And I'll explain to you. And what it does is it turns that 5 watts into 30 watts. And you can also get them up to 60 watt, 50 watts, or 60 watt output. So if you mount that in your car and it's powered on 12 volt, and then you just have your handheld, which you pick up for under $100, you go get in your car, you just it has a quick connect on the antenna. You take the antenna off of the handheld and you put the little cable on there, and now your handheld is from your vehicle is kicking out 30, 50, 70 watts from your vehicle. And the cost of that, at least the cost of the booster unit is a third or fourth of a car mounted unit. So you can pick those up for around $100 as well. Ham Radio Outlet. Ham Radio Outlet isn't a brand, it's a store, and let me show it to you here. It's online. There's actually, I used to shop at one of the brick and mortar stores there in Oakland, California. And it is but there a lot of stuff you can get on Radio Outlet. And they're across the nation. And so let me so this is a Ham Radio Outlet's webpage, and they've got
more than one location.
Oh yeah, they got locations all across the U.S.
Oh, okay, because I have one just down the street from me.
Yeah, there's there's one in Oakland, one down there in L.A., one in Phoenix. They're around, but they have all sorts of ones like here. And a Yaesu, a good one, on sale for $75.
Yeah.
That's the 5-watt VH USA transceiver. So they got a bunch of different things. They got the big stuff, they got the little stuff, they got lots of different things. You just go to products, look whatever you want. They got the big heavy duty right here, the big heavy duties desk
Desktop,
base stations.
Yeah.
And these are the ones that like 100-watt output, 200-watt output on this one right here, 200-watt output.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So these are the ones you talk around the world on. But they have, like I said, they have the cheap ones too, cheap or the inexpensive models, as well as the big bad boy Cadillac Rolls Royces.
Mary Beth Smith. I see they still have a Radio Shack. Here's this. If you guys can see that, it says Radio Shack right on it. 2-meter power amplifier, and it puts out 30 watts and 12 volt. I wired this up to my car, and I had used this little handheld Yaesu with a coax, and it went right into that into this amplifier, and these are cheap. And I was putting out 30 watts because these little handhelds don't put out more than 5 watts. But you can pick these up, like Gil was saying, guys, that you can pick these up. A 10-pack for under $100 or something for the Balcon?
Yeah, for the Baofengs, yeah.
So you get a little handheld like that, and then you hook up the antenna to this amplifier and put an antenna on your vehicle, and you're putting out 30, 40, or 50 watts if you get a bigger one of these. And it works great. I was talking to my buddy from all over the place with just this. That's how I got my start. So you can do it cheap, guys. It's not a hard thing to do. I can't recommend doing this enough. It's going to be the last emergency backup available if everything goes down. It really is, my opinion.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna switch off the ham radio for a second here, guys, and we're gonna look at something else here. Okay. Steve at Corsair Trainers has a video out there on the Go Tenna mesh. Basically, you buy it in a 2-pack.
And that's what you use with your phone?
Your iPhone or your Samsung or your Androids. They will work with this, and they can do basically it turns it into like it's a little mini private net communications network that has the ability to connect with other ones as well. And so let me show you something else here real quick here. Go down to the next one. So they come in 4 colors. You usually buy them in 2-packs. The blue and green and the orange and purple. But they can all hook together, and you can have as many as you want hooked together. You can buy several of them. And they have a little now they have a little extenders on them and stuff, so you can carry them up, put them on your backpacks and stuff. And they also have
the range of that now?
4 miles.
And you use your cell phone.
Yeah, use your cell phone. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, there's no towers, and everybody say you're all hiking in the desert or whatever, everybody has one of those. They can use their cell phones to talk about as they're hiking around, exploring, looking. And they also have what's called here the Go Tenna Pro X, which has all updated free updates on their mapping and stuff for all over the place, so you can tell where everybody is by the color of they're on here for their matches the color of their these things.
Yeah.
And so
my buddy Alan was telling me about these things, and I was like, I mean, come on, really? That seemed like a little fad, a little just a trinket, little. But you're saying, I mean, Steve's saying they work good. I mean, is that like the new thing? I mean, the 4 miles isn't very far. I mean,
it's not very far, but it does work sort of like a walkie-talkie, and you just key it, your phone, you load into software into your phone, onto the app on it, and you can you hook up and a Bluetooth to the Go Tenna unit,
right?
and like say you're up at Magic Mountain, and all the everyone's on their cell phone up there trying to contact, and you can't get any signal because all circuits are busy. Your family members can communicate to each other with the GoTenna.
Yeah.
And so they have a lot of real cool things on it for it to work. But the other thing I found that was really neat on it, when I was looking this up, all right, so yeah, this is expensive. It's $179 on Amazon for a pair.
Right.
But it's also secure. $179 on Amazon for a pair. And so being secured, you don't have other people listening into your conversations like you would on ham radio.
Right, because they're locked out, right?
Or FRS or GMRS or any of the other, or CB or anything else. So it gives you a little bit more security for your group, especially if you have like a family compound somewhere and you got cousins and everybody else up there.
Right.
It gives everybody a little more security. But when I was looking this up on Amazon again, I typed it in, GoTenna. This came up, but then something I totally forgot to talk about here was satellite phones. Yeah, you're going to be dropping as much as on a satellite phone as you are on a good radio. You got $300 for the Garmin GPS communicator. You have almost $600 for Blue Cosmo satellite phone. The Iridium is almost $700. But those are also very secure.
Huh.
So, but that is that's a lot more money that to put into you would on a radio. So, but with the radios, you can talk to ham radio operators around the world. And you can just scan frequencies and find out what's going on elsewhere.
Right.
Now,
the guy that got me into ham radios is in the chat now. Alan Banks is in here. He was the one telling me about the GoTen thing too. So I know he's going to be interested to hear that. I know Starlink, Elon Musk's satellite internet service, is going to be up and running. To hopefully be doing public beta testing here towards the end of the year, and I'm hoping to get signed up for that. But once he gets that constellation of 12,000 satellites and around the whole world, I think that, and then they get more of the 5G stuff all set up in the cities and whatnot. To me, that seems like that's going to revolutionize communications around the world. That's going to be fascinating to see how that happens. I mean, ham is great, but
now the big problem I see, I know about with a lot of this stuff is the RF signal. And the RF signals on cell phones and on the GoTenna, and especially in the satellite phones, especially when the cell phones, when you're getting into 5G, is nasty stuff. That's why you see most ham radio operators, they set their antenna up way away from them. A lot of them, they don't like if they're using the handhelds. And they and like for search and rescue stuff, they'll have a backpack on, and they'll have the antenna on the back of the backpack. And a lot of them will put a metal plate, like a cookie sheet, but in the backpack to protect them from the signal of the antenna.
Right.
Because radio frequencies, is microwave.
Right.
It's just a different frequency.
So I know there's a lot of people that are afraid of the 5G thing, and this all is all high frequency stuff, and people are there's a lot of scuttlebutt, a lot of conspiracy theories about 5G stuff. And I saw a really, really good video about that, talking about the 5G stuff, and microwaves. The military uses that one real high frequency thing to for crowd dispersion and all that stuff. Some of the original radio operators that were on the Navy boats, they would go up into the mast, and they would, it was cold outside and they were up on the lookouts. They would warm their hands on the antennas, but they would come down with burns on their hands. And that was one of the first things they told us in our ham radio class is make sure you put your antenna on the top of your car or out the back, and make sure that you don't have anybody when you're transmitting, especially with 50, 75 watts. you put your hand on that antenna, you'll burn your hand.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are thinking, oh, this is like a cancer thing. The 5G stuff doesn't have the power. So
That's not
where,
true. That's not true. They
like,
say
it can have the power, but what they're
they're saying that the antennas, the antennas are setting up the repeaters and stuff for them.
yeah.
Oh, they're only good for 500 feet away. There are places like around universities and stuff where there's a book out documenting this. The power being put out by it was higher than the regular cell phone towers, and they've been going around checking these
from 5G antenna.
Mm-hmm. The 5G antennas are jacked up, and they've been saying that's a whole nother story, but another topic to go into. But the 5G they're putting it out with higher output than what they're saying they are. So, but
interesting.
Yeah. So, anyways, a friend of mine in Vietnam was over there, and they'd turned off the radio transmitter at one of the airfields, and they were sent out there to work on stuff. And he said some idiot went in there and saw it was off, not knowing that people were out there working, went over and turned it on without permission, and 6 of them became sterile that were out there working on it. Yeah. So yeah, radio frequencies, on high power can cause problems. But so you got to do your research on what you want. But like I say, if you're doing ham radio, you have the antenna outside for the high power ones and stuff. And even like at home, for my 5-watt one, we have a line coming in, and we have the J pole up on the roof.
Right.
So it's even for 5 watts away.
You hit it on the head. It all comes down to how much power it's putting out.
Exactly.
I just wanted to make sure people didn't get scared to go, oh, I don't want to do ham radio, I'm going to get cancer.
Yeah, no. Ham radio is very safe so long as you follow the guidelines, and that's where the training comes in. If you go to classes, I know the Salvation Army in California and several other states puts on free ham radio classes, and it's usually multiple weekends. And they go over and they cover a lot of the information, and they explain all this in the classes. So now I want to talk about some Enriched Refuge has asked several questions here. For one of the questions was about a handle or whatever. Okay. Now for ham radio, you are assigned a call sign. I'm KF6DMR. My wife is KM6DM. A friend of ours is KF6DMQ. We all took the license at the same time, so all got really in order license numbers. One of my friends there, hers is KF6TOT, and so
I got really lucky with mine. I've got most of mine is my initials. I don't know how it happened, but KK6 HPX. So Harold Palmer is my initials. That makes it really easy to remember. And I remember Alan's from ever, but he was asking about custom handles, and I don't remember.
Yeah, you can get them.
You can get them, right? You have to pay for them, right?
You can get. There are certain ones they'll allow you to get. I know the radio club in Martinez has it set up so every year they get on John Muir's birthday. They get to use K6M.
Oh, that's cool.
For Muir, they go, this is K6M, M for Muir at the John Muir house, and that's how they broadcast.
Lears Farmish, you've had your license for a while, huh?
Yeah.
You'd see his call sign there. He's only got 5 in his call sign.
KD5 FFD.
No, the WW5LW.
Oh, okay. Now the WW5L, W is back east. K is on the West Coast.
Right.
So he got his when he was back east. His wife and daughter got theirs when they were on the West Coast or the western part of the United States.
Right. But he got his quite a while ago because he's only got 5.
He goes, his is a vanity call sign. Oh.
I'm
gonna put it up here. His is a vanity call sign.
I got that.
Yeah, and so that's what they call it, a vanity call sign. And he said his since 1977.
There we go. Okay. That was one thing they were saying, that some of the really old call signs are only 4,
Yeah,
3 letters and a number. I'm like, wow.
And Rich, exactly. So back east, CBS was WCBS. In California, in
Wow.
San Francisco, it's KCBS.
Look at Kathy. She is pulling out the facts tonight. She is
Woo!
on it. That's really, I did not know that.
Yeah.
He used to be AF5J. Now, boy, that's old.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, there.
That's cool.
Yeah. Now, a friend of mine, who a lot of people know who he is if they know the original band Journey. He was one of the founding members of the original band Journey. He's there in California, Northern California. There, used to work at the county hospital in Martinez as a surgical nurse, and he has a custom call sign with a Mars radio system, and so and his is through the Air Force, and so his is AF, and I can't remember the rest of it, but yeah, George Tickner is his name. So if you look up George Tickner, he was one of the founding members of the band Journey.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And so anyways, but so ham, and he's a big ham radio fanatic.
It's a lot of fun, you guys. And you know what the best part about it is, once you buy the equipment, it's free.
Yeah, there's no monthly fees for going on the air. No long distance calls. And thinking back, people, the old party line, when you see the old black and white movies, people cranking up, you hear other people listening in on the conversations. That's what ham radio is. It's an open party line, and that's what it's the original social networking.
Joe Walsh is a ham.
Yes, he is.
Tim Allen is too. And
I can't remember her name. Back, a famous movie star actress. Prior to World War II, she was a big ham fanatic. I mean, she was big into it, so much so that she developed the frequency hopping program that the military adapted.
Huh.
So, which has been put now into civilian use in a for the FRS system. There's a I'm drawing a blank here right now on the company puts out some of these radios, and you got like 100 different quote channels. Well, each channel is a different pattern, so you can be using your FRS. Tri-Square is the name of the company. Tri-Square. You can be using your Tri-Square frequency hoppy radio, and the kids. The problem we had in Martinez was the kids have these FRS radios they get at Walmart and stuff, and they'd be keying up on us during our shirt practices. Well, we got some of these Tri-Squares, and we'd be out there talking. They wouldn't hear us because it's microsecond bursts on each frequency as it bounces around.
Interesting.
And even though they key up, it's bouncing around so much, you still hear everything. I can't remember her name. If somebody wants to Google actress that developed frequency hopping radio, you might find it. Yeah, Tim Allen is a ham. In fact, on Tim Allen's show, The Last Man Standing, they had an episode. They've talked about ham radio several times on there. They took the computer away from the one daughter, the airhead daughter, and she was trying to and took her cell phone away and everything. And she got on the radio and she was, "Hello, anybody there?" And several other people that were on there. Everyone starts talking, and she goes, wow, this is better than Facebook. It's better
Yeah.
than Twitter, and it's free, and everybody's out there.
Yeah. I've had some good conversations with absolute total strangers, just doing a radio check, just trying, different frequencies out or trying a new repeater or something. And just, hey, whoa, you're sounding really clear. Where are you calling from? And so we start talking about that, and it's fun. You meet a lot of neat people, just like this community. So.
All righty. I'm not sure. Trunking radios could be a spinoff of that idea. I'm not sure. Hedy Lamarr, that's it. Yes. Yes. Way to go, Kathy. Hedy Lamarr is the actress.
She retracted it.
She retracted it?
She retracted the message.
Maybe she spelled it wrong.
Oh.
But yeah, I remember that now because her name is used
Hedy Lamarr.
in Blazing Saddles. That she was the one they were making a Hedley Lamarr as opposed to Hedy Lamarr.
Yeah. Hollywood drugged her up. She was a victim of the Hollywood scene. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was the one that invented that. Yeah, there is a lot of cool things out here. Different types of communications.
One thing that our class talked about that I thought, gosh, the ham radio universe, I'm going to call it a universe because it's so massive. They started talking about people, and they were doing their own radio shows, doing packet, what they call packet. They're doing actual television video broadcast through the ham radio.
Yes, there's amateur TV.
Unbelievable what you can get into with this stuff. It's amazing, and it's free. So
yeah,
I think the part that I think I liked the most about it was being out in the middle of nowhere. I know Alan and I would go hiking way down in these canyons, and he'd bring a little a custom made antenna that he had fabricated. He would string it up in a tree just to see what kind of reception we could get down in this valley, down in this gorge. And we had a lot of fun playing with different experiments. And that was always my impression of a lot of the original ham radio operators. A lot of them were electronic engineers. And so you still see these guys out there collecting all the old ham radios with the glass tubes, the radio tubes and all that. And they're assembling these old antique style ham radios that still work today. And those are the real enthusiasts, I think. But for the common prepper and homesteader these days, getting these, low cost, a lot of them imports, or getting something used online and just getting your license so that you have a backup communication plan. You can do it so cheap, and it doesn't take a brain a big brain to figure some of this stuff out with a manual. A lot of the programming on these things is so simple that anybody can do it. So I love ham stuff. It's a huge universe. You can get as far. You could just spend a whole lifetime on this stuff, but
yeah. All right. I was just checking something here. Okay. So right here for $40, dual band, 2 batteries, microphone, earpiece mic, 2 antennas. You got the stubby short fat antenna and a long one, $39.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you have the dual band 6-pack for $200. So you got 12 batteries. You got basically it's 6 of these. For $200. So basically 6 times 40 is 240. So you're buying 5 and getting the 6th one free.
Can I make a suggestion on that, Gil?
Yeah.
Those are great prices, and like I said, I have 3 Baofengs, and I got it as a package deal from a guy getting rid of some extra stuff. I got that nice Yaesu, and I got a nice Kenwood mobile, as well as a power supply and a CB radio. And I got it all for like $200 or something. I mean, it was probably $1,000 of the radio stuff. And what I found with the cheaper radios is, I mean, it's a good way to start, but the quality just is not there with the Chinese stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah,
radio
but
might work, but the Yaesu, the Japanese stuff, the American stuff, I mean, we're talking about just like the quality of the case itself. I know
Yeah.
a lot of the battery pack clips have broken on my Baofengs, and they're just, it's
Yeah.
almost like a throwaway. So it's a great way to start, but
yeah, if you can get one of the old original Baofangs that came in, the that are like 15 years old, those were built a lot tougher because those when George Tickner was the one that introduced me to Baofeng, he had one and he opened it up for me and he goes, "Look at this. This is military grade circuit board in here." And then 3 years later, he got another one and he goes, "Look at this is my original one. It's great. This one, look at the circuit board, and this one, it's crap." But it was the price he paid on the second one was a fifth what he paid for the first one. And that's what they did is they built the first one's built really good, and then it went downhill. And then supposedly there's the circuit boards are supposedly coming back better again, but like it's the accessories, like saying your clips are that's why a lot of people don't get the clips on the batteries. They get a little nylon case to put it on their belt or whatever to protect it. Also just to protect the whole thing, anyways. But yeah, there's other brands out there too. There's Yaesu, there's Midland. Midland was a big CB manufacturer. They got the ham radios and stuff. They got they got a 15-watt GMRS radio. They got the GMRS radios for Midland.
There's definitely some good bargains up there, and if somebody's going to spend $100, they're like, okay, my budget's $100, and they think they're going to get a pretty good Baofeng. You keep saying Baofeng, isn't it Baofeng? Fong?
No, Feng.
Baofeng? Is it
Yeah.
Feng? Okay, Baofeng.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking,
and I'm probably still mispronouncing it anyways. It's Chinese. I'm not.
No, I understand. Yeah, Lears agrees. He thinks Yaesu is one of the best, and ICOM's a good one too. But I'm thinking if you get $100 to spend, first of all, I would go to your local ham radio club or anybody that has a radio or an HRO or radio store, and just talk to people and just see and tell them, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I want to do. This is what my budget is. And almost every single ham radio operator I've ever talked to is going to give you good, honest opinions and their overview. And they're going to try and help point you in the right direction to get you started. And so that's what happened with me. And I started looking on Craigslist to find my stuff. And so if you get $100 for a brand new Baofeng, that's if they're decent radios, or you find a good Yaesu that's a $300 radio and somebody's selling it for $100.
Yeah,
I would jump on the Yaesu for $100 all day long, because this stuff, the good quality ones, they just really don't go bad. I mean,
yeah.
Alan can tell me. Alan, what do you think? You think that Baofeng? Okay, Alan agrees with you, Gil. He says it's Baofeng. Yeah, Lears, he buys Craigslist and eBay too. Yeah, that's where I bought mine. So
yeah. There's a lot out there, and I know in California, Pacificon is the ham radio get together that's done around the same time as the around field day time as well. You up in Northern California most of the time. They have a big, huge swap meet.
Oh yeah, Alan just said the same thing. TRW swap meet, you can get stuff there too.
Yeah, and it's just you can find a lot of stuff there, and enter those that are worried about an EMP. You were talking about the ones that had the tubes and stuff in it,
right?
Those are a lot more EMP resistant than circuit boards by a factor of 10.
Yeah. So the old stuff is going to be way better. If you go on Craigslist and you just type in ham radio, you'll see these guys advertising, I'll buy your old ham radio equipment. Alan had a giant trunk of all this old stuff. I mean, it had to have been 10 meter and 80 meter and all this really high end stuff. It had piles of tubes, and he got rid of all. I told him I probably wanted some of it, but I just didn't have time for it right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what he did with it, but those guys that'll spend money for that stuff because exactly what you said.
Yeah. The let's see here again. I'm gonna look something up here again. The outlet.
A national hamvention in Dayton each year. Wow.
Okay. Let's see if I can get this to show here.
Butch wants to set up 5G next to the foxes and sterilize the foxes. Butch.
Well, to quote somebody from a movie, from one of the RoboCop movies, I'd pay $1 to see that.
I'd pay. Yeah. That's funny.
All right. Trying to get this map here to work here before I throw it up here. Okay, so here are your ham radio outlets across the United States. So you have up in Wisconsin, you have one up there. You have one down here in Dallas. You have one over in Colorado. I'm not sure where exactly on if that's Denver or not. Down in Phoenix. So actually, I think it's not Phoenix, but Tempe, I believe it is. San Diego, Los Angeles, Oakland.
I live like 10 minutes from that LA one.
Yeah.
So that's one in Portland, Oregon?
Yeah. That's what it looks like. That's Portland. That's that's Portland, yeah. So that's where the actual brick and mortar stores are, but they got great online help as well.
Alan Hempfest. Was that a mistype, Alan? You meant Hamfest? We're not talking about Hempfest here. That's funny.
Yeah. So there's ham radio is probably your best all around backup communications. And yes, it takes some time for everyone to go get their license. Well, it's like if you have a farm tractor and you're out there on the farm tractor and you got the little you mount the little bracket for your handheld, and you got the Bluetooth in, and the wife's in the house, or vice versa. If the wife's out on the tractor and you're in the house, you can talk to each other easy on that, and practice it and stuff. There's also something really cool. I almost forgot. The Martinez Amateur Radio Club has a I forget what it's called now, but basically you get on there and you can punch it. You can make phone calls from your ham radio.
Yeah.
And make local calls there in Martinez. And so you call somebody and would answer up, you go, all right, I'm using the ham radio to call you on so everybody can hear this. And we used to use that a lot. Just for fun, we would use it to keep it active and everything else. And yeah, it was great.
That's when you said that, Gil, I was going to bring up two reasons why we did it on our place. I'm going to be putting out a video. I'm working on it right now, and I've been dragging my feet on it because I put up that 70-foot tower on my property. The valley that we're in, the cell phone service is barely even there. And I put up a tower for two reasons. One of them was to try and get a WeBoost cell phone booster to work, and I was able to get a couple of bars so we can actually make a call and send a text message, but I couldn't get enough data. And the other thing was I put on top of that a really nice dual band ham radio antenna, 2 meter 440, and connected it with some really nice cable. And I'm going to put on a mobile unit. It's the Kenwood that I have that it should be putting out about 50 watts. Somebody in the chat earlier, I don't know if they're still in here or not, had asked about, do you have to put a really high antenna up to do ham radio? Now, I wanted to address that really quick, that the different frequencies are going to require a different kind of antenna or a different height of antenna. And the guys that you see driving down your local streets, and they've got that big giant, array sitting in, on top of their house with guy wires and all that stuff. Those guys are the ones that are talking on, like 80 meter and 10 meter, and they're talking around the world and all kinds of stuff. And they're putting out probably quite a bit of power too. But generally speaking, the higher your antenna is, no matter which one, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to get better transmission as well as reception.
Yeah, generally.
Hence my 70-foot tower.
Yeah.
And my intention was to do a little handheld with me while I'm out on my tractor. And Olivia's going to sit in the log cabin, and she needs me. She's going to call me on the ham radio, and we're going to go, radio to radio and talk, because we have no cell service. So that video I'm working on, it's coming out. Stay tuned.
Okay. Now
cool.
I want to show something here. Throw this up here. I got two things to talk about. Before I show this up, I want to talk about something else. One of the guys in the radio club there, Martinez, had his 5-watt handheld. He worked on the railroad, and when he was talking on field day, he was blowing everybody's doors off with that 5-watter, because he was sitting on top of one of the huge locomotive engines. All that iron underneath him was acting as a super ground plane and the track, and so that 5 watts is going whoosh.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it also depends what you have, like your mag mounts on your car. When you put a mag mount on there, you get better transmission because of the metal underneath acting as a ground plane.
So I can tell you a little. I can even dial that in a little bit further. And just a quick little Fishes and Loaves Life called us all geeks, and I resemble that remark. I mean, no, I am not a geek. I'm sorry. This is survival, disaster, doomsday prepping stuff here, and you better get with the program, Fishes and Loaves. I'm just kidding. So on my Jeep, I had my antenna at my back door on my Jeep, at the level of my back door. And of course, the top on a Jeep is fiberglass, but there's a metal roll bar. Now, I had a really high gain antenna. It was an off-road antenna. It worked really, really good. I did really well with that antenna, but I put that same antenna. Now, I sold my Jeep, kept the antenna, of course, and put that antenna at the top of my F-350. I have a back rack I built from my F-350, and it is now at the top where my roof line is. And where I was not able to hit that Big Bear repeater 110 miles away with my Jeep, now I hit it no problem with my truck, because of what you just said, because of the ground plane, just the roof metal of my truck, it made a huge difference. So
yeah.
So yes, height is better.
Yeah. Fishes and Loaves. Ham radio is fun. It is a great hobby. My father-in-law was into it, and when he passed away, my mother-in-law gave me all of his radio, a lot of his radios and stuff. I got a big chest of mobile radios and stuff that go in vehicles and stuff that just waiting to be installed, that I just haven't had time to install. So yeah, I got enough to go put in my truck, my wife's car, my daughter's van, and my son-in-law's Volkswagen Jetta. But it's just that it's the time, we just haven't had time to put it in yet. So we got the handhelds, and we got the other ones. I got the base station. I got a little footlocker thing I made up that has ion lithium batteries in there, power boosters and stuff. So I can just plug in my my handheld into it and pull off an antenna and run it up. So talking of antennas, so let me show you this. This is what's called a J-pole antenna. I've built a bunch of them out of copper. Let's see if I make this one here.
That's getting more to the enthusiast side and the fun. Actually,
this is just this is something I did because my father-in-law showed me how to do it. A friend. It's very easy to make. The measurements I have for this, because 440 and 2 meter, the antennas
You can put them on the same
can be
pole.
the same pole. It's halfway for one and full wave for the other.
Right.
So because that's the way they just happen to match up, and real easy to make out a 1/2 inch copper. Oh, there's a good picture of one. And that's what, real easy. Goes up there and get great signal from it. I also have a J pole that's made from regular old 2-line antenna wire. You just clip it at the height of where the short one would be, is where you would clip it, the one side at, and now you have a collapsible roll up, throw in your backpack J pole antenna. You put take some nylon twine with you and a rock and some of the lightweight antenna cable, and you just throw that up and pull it up a tree, and now you got your pole up there, and you got, if you're out there hiking, you got good communications to get by with. And I also got one of these. This is what's called a dual band separate J pole, because you got a J here and you got a J on this side, and this works for both. You can set these up separately to run 440, 144, and you get all different frequencies you can do it at. Here's one that has it off of one side and another one off the other side for the different ones. It's not that hard. You can do some fun stuff with your antennas. And yeah, so you have the long whip antenna on your handheld as opposed to the little shorty it came with, right? So I mean, you can do a lot of different things with your radios and stuff. Yeah, there we go. Hanging in a tree with a string. Yeah. It's,
can I address fishes and loaves?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say, as much as she's teasing with the geeky comments, I can appreciate that, because I love what you're saying about the J poles and making your own antennas and doing this and doing that. But I'm going to say probably 80% of the people out there that are preppers or homesteaders aren't going to have, number one, the technical background to solder some wires together, and they're going to want to have some sort of an emergency. Maybe not 80%. I mean, maybe your homesteaders are probably a little more handy than the average city slicker. But the point being that most people just want something simple, and their lives are insanely busy. So I was showing my ham radio that I have, this the handheld, and that's just as simple as it really needs to be, at least for somebody starting out. If they want some emergency backup radio stuff, you get a couple of these, you learn how to use them, you get your ham radio license, and you don't have to have a lot of technical expertise on putting up and knowing how big and how long the antenna, because antennas have to be built with a certain height and for the right frequency. You get a couple of these, you learn how to talk on them, and then you can go from there. And that's the I can appreciate what she's saying about teaching some of this stuff and trying dumbing it down for some people, because that's all people are really looking for is the real life situation.
Yeah.
And so what kind of real life situation have you used a ham radio for? I've got a bunch of stories on that.
Well, all my ham radio use has been when I first got it, it was just talking to everybody else in the radio club there in Martinez, to Tracy, to Kurt, to John, and his wife, and Jim, and everybody. We were all just talking around on it as we were using it as an open party line, which is what it was meant to be for the radio club. Is everybody able to talk and keep everybody in the community informed what's going on. And it came in handy though when we had one of the fires came over the hill from the west side into the up to the bunch of the houses that backed up against the along the I forget the name of the hill that runs along behind the John Muir house, and somebody spotted it, and boom, the word was out, and everybody knew about it instantly as soon as it came over the hill, and everybody was helping everybody evacuate horses, cows, dogs, pet, we were just, everybody's, because it was instantly there. We've used it a lot in the CERT program, the Community Emergency Response Teams.
Mhm.
Every team member had an FRS radio,
Uh-huh.
and one person on the team had a ham radio. And the way the city Martinez is, all the hills and stuff, and little gullies around there, the FRS wasn't very good for more than just a couple blocks. Well,
Right.
the team members could talk to each other, and then that one person had the ham would hit the city hall.
Right.
And so we had ham radio operators on every team, and it worked great. They were relaying the messages, and we were able to up our role-playing experiences for a disaster and make it more realistic.
Right.
And we actually had several real emergencies pop up during one of the drills, one of which where there was a construction crew had been working during the week, and they had nicked a gas line, and everyone walking on there, everyone could smell gas, and they're knocking on some of the neighbors. Hey, we smell gas. You smell? Oh yeah, we've been smelling that for a while. Well, what happened was we tried calling PG&E. PG&E was ignoring us. Well, since we had a guy sitting at City Hall up in the police department's command center, he went downstairs, told the dispatcher. They called PG&E. They were out there in 5 minutes. They go, "What the hell did you guys do? You got the police all pissed at us." "Yeah, because we called you guys 5 times and you never responded.
Yeah.
You kept blowing us
And
off."
rightfully so. Yeah.
And so,
in an emergency, anybody, and let me throw that out there too. In an emergency, anybody can get on a ham radio, even without a license, and use it if you need to. If you have an emergency, you can actually break in on fire and police. If you have a radio that transmits, most people don't. You're not supposed to. But if you have access to even those bands, in an emergency situation, life or death, you can transmit on these radios, just so you know. So my friend Alan here, he brought that. That was one of the situations I had in my mind of a real life situation. He was stuck up down in a gorge in heavy snow and had slid off the road, and he couldn't get out. And he was able to use his ham radio and call the local ham radio club, a bunch of jeepers up there, and they came to the rescue. He had no cell service, and that was just a few years back. The ham radio club that I was a part of, when they had the big Northridge the Whittier earthquake back in the late 80s or early 90s, the city didn't have backup power. Their backup generator failed. And the city fire and police in Whittier, which is a pretty good sized town, didn't have any kind of radio communication. The local ham radio, Rio Hondo Ham Radio Club, stepped in and did emergency communications for the whole city for a whole day until they got their backup generator going. And now they have an emergency communication center in City Hall in Whittier because of that scenario. I mean, all over, time and time again, with natural disasters, with the tornado that we saw in Joplin, Missouri, the hurricanes, when the power grids are down, and then even the mobile cell towers that they have supposedly ready to go aren't available. There are people stepping up, and they're using ham radios, and they're talking, and they're saving people's lives. It's just, I could talk all night long about how much I love ham radio. And it doesn't have to be geeky. It's really that simple. You can start simple. Fishes and loaves. I'm really impressed, Gil, that your wife has her ham radio license, and I really want I want Olivia to go get her ham radio license.
Yeah, we got ours at the same time. We went through the same class.
That's awesome. Yeah, I went through it with a couple of friends at the same time.
Here's a picture. You can buy these. You don't have to make them. This is a picture of they call them a Slim Jim or a TV antenna J-pole. It just rolls up, and you can just, like I say, tie a string to the end and run up a flagpole, throw it a string up in a tree and pull it up a tree. You can do a lot of things. They're inexpensive. You can order them online, and that's something great to have in your backpack, your go bag, so you have a better antenna on it. You can also get the come on, that's this one here, the lighter weight antenna cable. You don't have to use the heavy duty stuff. We use the lightweight stuff to connect to. They got the all the different adapters you can get for different and types of antennas and stuff. You don't have to do it yourself. They have the stuff out there made. If you want to get into it and you want to do something quick, so yeah. What's this? So this is like a police radio in your home. Not really. You can have a regular scanner. You can get scanners to listen to the police frequencies, but a lot of the police departments use ham radio as their backup, and because they have so many cities are getting really big into the CERT program and getting community volunteers to patrol their neighborhoods and stuff during emergencies and stuff. They are putting in ham radio, multiple ham radios units in their command centers so that they can communicate with the CERT teams directly to the police department or the fire departments. In Contra Costa County, the Contra Costa Consolidated Fire District is the biggest promoter of the CERT teams and the use of ham radio for the public. So, because they want the feedback, they want to know if they and all this came out of part of the Oakland Hills fire, where they didn't know where the ashes were blowing to. And now, whenever there's a fire in Contra Costa County, they're getting all sorts of information. Oh, we're over on this street here. It is so many yards from our house. It's so many yards from that house. The fires are moving this way. They're moving that way. And they can respond so much faster because they got 1,000 eyes out there watching the fires instead of just, a couple battalion chiefs running around trying to keep track on everything.
Yeah, I answered her question with that and said basically the scanners are ham radios. They just are a receive only, but it's those frequencies. I know people that have what they call jailbroken ham radios, and they can transmit on those frequencies not supposed to. But if you get caught, because it is the FCC, Federal Communications
Commission. My
mind totally went blank. And it is a federal crime if you get caught. I mean, it's probably hard to catch you, but if you get caught, it's serious. So
yeah, a lot of them are going. Departments are going digital, but even though departments are going digital, they're also putting in the ham radios for their emergency communications. And I know at the one point, the city of Martinez, their radio system had their new radio system had a FUBAR and went for a half a day, and they called a bunch of the ham radio guys to ride along with their officers so they could communicate.
Really?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
It was several years back.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and so it was like, they bunch them, oh, cool, I got to go ride around with the police, and they went out and they were riding around for half a day, and they brought they sent the dispatchers went upstairs into the EOC where their radio was.
EOC,
and they had
that's what I was looking for.
Emergency Operations Center.
Yeah.
And they got some of the guys in up there, and they were running the radios up there, and dispatchers were handing notes and taking the phone calls, and for half a day, they kept it going.
Alan brought up a good point. The cheap Chinese radio crap. That's not crap. The cheap Chinese radios, make sure that they're FTC approved, or you can get fined with that too. They're probably not going to catch you, but
yeah. Well, the Baofeng, that's one thing about the Baofeng. It is they make sure that they are FCC radio approved on all their stuff, because they know it's a very big market. And all of the Yaesus are absolutely FCC approved.
Yeah, Kenwood, Yaesus, ICOM, all those are anything that ham radio outlet sells, especially, is going to be FCC approved. They're not going to sell anything not. But great stuff, man. This is one of the things I'm passionate about, in just communications, and I love this subject. It's so much fun. Just being able to communicate. Oh, the one other thing I wanted to bring up, trying to win over some of our viewers, like Fishes and Loaves. This little radio that I have right here, the solar stuff has come down in price so much. You can go to Lowe's and you can find these little fold-up backpack solar panels. My buddy Alan was up there working in Central California, and he had to have either a generator or a solar panel, and he was using a solar panel to charge his cell phone and his ham radio, and he had a little battery pack. You can take this with you with one of those portable solar panels and charge it out in the middle of nowhere and have free power and free communications. I love free. Can you tell I love free or very cheap? So if I can talk to somebody around the world for free and use a solar panel to charge it up for free, I'm all about that. So my buddy Alan gave me this radio, so it was free. It's a $700 radio, and he gave it to me for free. He's making fun of me because it's an old radio, but it still works.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that in Rich Refuge.
What did he have?
If the phone has no service, it's not going to be able to connect to make the call. As far as I know, you got to have a service provider for it to connect to, and if it's not hooked up with any service provider, I don't think you're going to be able to make a 911 call with it. Now, if you're in a big emergency, and once the state or the feds go and they'll flip that switch, so you have to have the GITS or a WPS system. Even 911 will not be a priority call for the emergency unless there's a space for it to be used. But you'll have priority over other people, but it won't prioritize over the GITS or the WPS system.
Farmall Fanatics in there. Boom! What's up, brother?
Hey, Farmall! Yes.
You got any ham radios on your tractors, on your Farmalls?
They'd have to be the ones with the tubes.
Right.
Got to keep it in the right year of his Farmalls and his equipment there. So one of the things here I want to throw up here real quick here. If you go to the Asset Center under free documents, you get to the free documents at communications. My slideshow is under the communications. There's information there. Other stuff you may need for emergency, communications, but it's all there. Got information, earthquakes and stuff. But so all the stuff I put on the Asset Center, anything there you can download for free. It's all there for free.
Fishes and Loaves is where they sit. Where's she at? Down in Texas?
Not sure.
She said it. I thought. Anyway. I had a story. She said something about rude workers and being able to transmit on certain frequencies. And I worked security at Knott's Berry Farm for a couple of years, and we had a closed system on our radio walkie-talkie system, and somebody had a ham radio that that got the frequency we were transmitting on, and was interrupting our transmissions, especially during big events. And it was pretty bad. I mean, it could have been a life and death situation if he'd been transmitting and covering our signal while we were trying to save somebody's life at the time. But so there's definitely people that are interested in misusing that. But you definitely in an emergency, if you have a life and death situation, you can transmit. So it's great backup, and it's you can get them pretty cheap, and it doesn't take a lot to get into it.
And it's fun too. It's just plain old fun. Yeah. And once you're into it, once you bought your equipment, it's you don't have to spend anything more once you have your basic setup to have fun with it.
Oh yeah, that's right. Lear's is in Texas. I couldn't remember where Fishes and Loaves was. But.
Yeah. And so one thing to remember. Let me get back up here to the proper where I wanted at here. I want to go over this one more time with everybody.
Dan M made a really interesting comment about a radio that I had never heard of before. Sideband CB.
Oh yeah, sideband CB. sideband, even on the like the 6 meter sideband, expands use a whole bunch. I really don't understand the sideband that much. Now my
Either.
friend Dave Purcell there in California does a lot of sideband stuff. And I'm not exactly sure how sideband works. I'm not.
Palm Beach, that's right.
Yeah. I'm not that much onto that. But yeah, there's so I've heard about the sideband CB opening up and being able to do everything else. All right, Mary Beth, have a good night. And I want to get one more thing up here real quick here before I kill us off. Run us through real quick. One more time for those that came in later here. Communications plan. You really should have an emergency communications plan. It should include who you need to communicate with. Sons, daughters, husbands, wives, cousins, not whoever it is. Create a phone tree or recall tree, and so you know who to call and everything else. Outside of area contacts and the order of how you're going to contact them. That's very important, especially during earthquakes and hurricanes, tornadoes, and stuff like that. In your plan, you need to have what triggers the communications plan. What is going to cause you to activate it? What types of alternative communications is your family going to use? Are you going to be using FRS, GMRS radios? Are you going to be using ham radios? Code words for regrouping locations and plan activations and stuff. Remember, operational security, loose lips sink ships. You can also use in your command communications plan message drop locations, signal flags, warning flags on buildings and stuff to let people know whether or not you're there or whether you've moved on to a backup location to regroup elsewhere. Always backup plans and have a practice schedule. Have long-term phone outage plans and other options that are not listed here that work for you. This is not the end all of all information. You may have come up with an idea that works really good for you and may work for some other people. Share it if you come up with a great idea. And there's also, depending on even if the cell phones are working, access to an AWS system. That's where you put out a message on your computer, hit send, and it sends a text message to a whole bunch of people, or sends a voice message to a whole bunch of people. Facebook messaging, ham radio packet email, ham radio board, message boards, any other ways you can think of to get messages out to your family. These are all things you should have in your communication plan. And once again, practice your plan.
Yeah.
If you don't use it, you'll lose the information. When it comes time to use it, what do I do? But if you practice it once a month, all right, on the first Sunday of the month, we're going to have a practice for half an hour.
Yeah.
Then everybody's good to go when something happens.
This is all great stuff, and I really like what Fishes and Loaves is saying. I think it would probably be good to do a very, very basic beginners ham radio show.
Yeah.
I tried really hard to bring to be the opposing simplified side. You got Alan and Lears in here, and they started talking Chinese a second ago. I know Alan talks Chinese for real, but he's bilingual, whatever. So I speak Spanish, whatever. But they're talking about modulating and sideband, and I like, okay, it goes over my head. I know how to use this right here.
Yeah.
And that's what most people are looking for, is just how to use this simple thing. They got to get started somehow, and they can get, you know what I mean? So maybe something in the future for another.
There you go. There he goes. It goes again. Packet whisper.
Exactly.
PSK 31. Et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
I mean, I've heard all that stuff, but
yeah, I've heard all of it too. But I don't, Now there is something that even simple people like us in it can do. Radio clubs will have what's called a fox hunt. and they'll
Oh,
set
yeah.
out a transmitter out there and just beep, beep, and it transmits. And you can work your handheld and whatever around and put a directional mic antenna on it and to track down. And they have a little contest to see who can find the fox the fastest.
Right.
And it doesn't take a lot of experience. You just,
Kind of like geocaching, but it's with the ham radio stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and it's really fun stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun stuff you can get into it with.
Now, everyone, probably check with your local Salvation Army. They call their radio program call it Saturn. See if they have that in your area. Generally, if they have a Saturn set up, they do free radio classes. Check for your local area for a ham radio club.
Yeah.
They'll be more than happy to sit down with you and talk with you from beginner up to expert on what you need to know, what you can do. They're not out to sell you anything. They want you to be comfortable with it, so you'll become another person with a ham radio that they can provide input to them in emergencies.
Right.
And it could be a simple emergency as a lost kid. And we actually did that too. We had a bunch of it out looking for a person from, it wasn't a kid, it was an adult, but he had the mindset of an 8-year-old because of his mental development. And he'd wandered away from the home, and he was out. And so we had everybody out walking, driving, looking for him. And yeah. So it's a lot of fun stuff. It's a lot of great stuff to do. And I knew I wanted to throw one thing else up here real quick. Okay, it's an emergency. Everybody get on their ham radios. So.
Oh, Cabin in the Woods. Welcome.
Cool. You got the new refrigerator freezer in. Great.
Lear's talked about the International Space Station. That's a fun one too that I've wanted to do for a long time. Is actually get on the frequency for the International Space Station. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that is a cool one. Lear's.
Yeah, the 220 band I mentioned before is not very is not very popular, but there are a lot of different there are radios out there for it. I know the one scout camp was going to be putting in the 220 up there, and they were going to be getting a lot of their staff to get their their scouts to get their ham radio license so they could have them, because at the time the 220 10-pack was $80 on Amazon. And so they were going to get a couple of those and have them for their staff for whenever there was an emergency. If some scouts every now and then they wander off, go too far downstream, and they got to go out and look for them, and that's what they were going to get for as well.
What you're referring to, and I forget what they call that, where they have a certain frequency dedicated to an event, and the people that are participating in that event, they don't all have to be licensed, but you have those radios dedicated to just that event with people that are involved in that event. And I forget what that's called. Alan, what is that called? I forget. They talked about it in the class, and
I know my mind
races, desert car races. When you bring the Boy Scouts, I'm sure they wanted the Boy Scouts to all get their ham radio license individually, just because. But if they were going to do that for their camp counselors, they probably didn't have each counselor get their ham radio license as much as they would want them to. They would have a dedicated frequency just for that group.
Yeah, they had their own camp radios, but they wanted for waterfront.
Yes, you have to have a control operator. Exactly.
They had the regular camp radios, but they wanted more extra people to get their ham radio license as well, so that if they need to send a bunch of people out, they could still send out those with the proper radios.
Right. Well, what do you call that when you dedicate a certain amount of frequency just for it's a closed group? I forget what that's called, but anyway, but you have to have a control operator. Yeah, somebody's got to have their ham radio license in order to do it. But
Yeah.
that works really good. People use it all the time. So
Yeah.
the command control. Well, good stuff, Gil. Thank you very much for doing this tonight.
Yeah.
We've
And
got
so, yeah, if you know, I'm really, want to emphasize it's not that hard to get your license. Like I said, I put the pool of questions up there. It's shoot. Where did I got it else? I was just gonna pull it, but basically, it has the question, and it has it says it has the answer, whether it's A, B, C, or D, and you just go through and you just read, you don't have to memorize it. You just get yourself familiarized so that when you read the question and you see the four answers, so wait a minute, this one stands out. That'll help you get your license. We'd like to see you get your license and then get involved with a radio club. I know it's just fun. There's great things you can do with it. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Thank you, Alan. All right. Translation, please.
And Rich Refuge asked how many women do this, and I must have missed my comment about the lady that was one of the teachers in the Rio Hondo Ham Radio Club. One of my instructors helped me get my license. Her first job as a 17-year-old was running the ham radio for the FBI back in World War II. Neat lady, neat stories, and she's still active. And so women way back have been doing this. You don't have to be a geek to do it, like Alan. Yeah. So
just to make sure everybody knows, no, you do. Morse code is not required for technician, general, or extra. All right, those are the three ham radio license classes there are. It's not required. However, with all the advantages of the computers and stuff, and the way that ham radios can be hooked up to computers, there are programs you can get for your computer where you type in the message and it sends it out Morse code. And when it receives Morse code back, it puts up the translation on the screen of what the person's sending them on Morse code. And if someone's out there just sending a message Morse code, you want to listen to them, you just monitor what they're saying, and your computer will hook it up to your computer, and it will type out what the Morse code is, so you can, listen in on the Morse code.
Yeah.
How many women do this? All right.
That's like the third time they've asked that question. I said more than you'd think.
Yeah. Okay. Back in the Martinez Amateur Radio Club, I would say you're looking at least 45%.
Really?
Yeah, we got Gene Brunk, Tracy Schwartz, Chris Campbell. I just lost Mary McDonald. I'm just losing names here, but yeah, they're
Who are these names you're reading off?
These are friends in the Martinez Amateur Radio Club.
Oh.
And it is actually Gene Brunk is the one that got me and my wife into it. All right. So, and I used to, during the daytime when I was first getting my license, who am I listening to on the air, listening around? 75% women. Because all the guys are working, the women are driving around town talking about everything going on, and it was a like a party line, and you just listen to everything, all the gossip going on.
Oh my!
And it was so cool.
That's funny.
Okay, here we go. Morse code decoder on eBay, $12. Bam. So yeah.
Something tells me the Lears Farmish has a EOC at their farm with walls of equipment and a giant array on the top of their house or next to their house. So yeah, I can't wait to show you guys my antenna that I put up, and I put that thing up 70 feet. That's gonna be fun. So
yeah, and I just lost it. I'm trying to remember. There's a the National Ham Radio guys. I'm having a brain fart here, guys. Anyways, the American radio, the American AARL, American Radio Relay League. There we go. Has a magazine out there. QST. You can find these magazines. You know, people have. I'm always seeing these magazines being given away. People read through it a bunch, and they got all and they give it away to somebody else. A lot of information. You want to know about making antennas? There's always at least once a year there's an article on making antennas.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's tons of help out there.
Yeah. I think the guy that inspired me to put my antenna, the way I got the idea was actually I don't know if you watch YouTube channel Capper Outdoors.
Yeah.
If you watch him, yeah. So he's got all the tractor stuff going on and the land development. Well, he tilted up a tower, a 40-foot tower at his house, and I thought he did an okay job on it. But I wanted to try and top him. But he's an ex-sheriff and he's a ham radio operator, and so he was putting that up for emergency communications. So I got the idea by watching his channel, and so it's all it takes is just watching somebody and listening and getting involved and getting inspired to do it. And that's what this is all about. You know, people need help. People have communities. People have ideas, and people have questions, and that's what this is for. So I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Gil, for doing this tonight. It's fantastic. You are doing an immeasurable service to this community. I'm very honored that you invited me to be on here. I hope I didn't pollute it too much. Hope I was a productive contributor to the chat.
Yeah.
I texted Alan there. He had some great stuff to say, some great detail and whatnot. And I texted him. I go, dude, you got to come on tonight. So here he is. He was a great contributor, and Lears was fantastic. So, but definitely in the future, if you decide to do a intro to ham for dummies or something.
Yeah, I have plans for it. I'm trying to pick apart the PowerPoint presentation we did for the Scouts, because I'm trying, because basically the presentation we had for Scouts took up 8 hours.
Oh,
so
wow.
I got to pare that down to maybe to shorter little ones. I may do a multiple part series on it. What I would love to do is get the local ham radio club here, get a couple of their guys to come on live and actually have a couple teaching.
Do like a Q&A or something with them, yeah?
Yeah, Q&A, but also do some have them do teaching a class on the live.
Yeah.
So be like several Saturdays or whatever, doing teaching ham radio, so that those that want to get their license, they can find out a bunch about it, learn a bunch about it, and then yes, there is a Ham Radios for Dummy book out there, and there are probably some videos already out there if you search for them. But the videos I've seen have been set up in a class teaching format, and that would be very good to try to get going here. One of the things I want to try to do here. Probably not going to get to it till probably the end of June into July.
So maybe do like a series, a ham radio intro to ham radio. For beginners series, and then you could split up an 8-hour course into,
All right, Alan, Eagle Scout. Woo. Yep. Yeah. My youngest made Eagle, and then he made got the Denali Award as well, and didn't get his silver for the Ventures though. All righty, folks. We've been on here for 2 hours. We're going to wrap it up now, and going to end it with The one that I think Kathy says is a creepy guy here.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.
All right, guys.
I think you're just having too much fun with that.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks
See you
everybody for joining.
Yeah, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Awesome.